I'd be like, what are you doing? Because one of the factors of not a lot of people that I know, but I've hired people out of game development because it doesn't pay great. And you can get great developers out of the game development world for like the application development world, which pays substantially better. But how they kind of make up that gap is if the game does well, there is that bonus structure that comes out. And it's like, no, like, what are you doing? Like, why have we seen that? And we've seen that pattern happen with multiple games, Veilguard being obviously the most recent, but we've seen that all the way throughout 2024 where I think it's just a human response, a quipped response of, well, if you don't like it, don't play it. This game isn't for you, right? Like, but you make a product to sell a product. It should, in my mind, it's like you want to try and what we've seen with Xbox and Xbox everywhere, like you want to try and reach as many people as possible because that's just smart. Because especially with the cost of these games, I could tell you right now, Veilguard easily lost $150 million. And that's me being generous. Like that isn't a win. That isn't a win for anybody. And you got to wonder, like, yeah, part of it's marketing, part of it's the economy, part of it's this, but also part of it could be, like you said, did they hire the best?
I don't think they could afford to do that, dude. Like you're talking about, PlayStation doesn't have too many more failure games in it before it becomes a serious issue.
I agree. Yeah.
Like
but PlayStation isn't Microsoft or Amazon. Like there is. Yeah.
There's a big difference, talking about trillions in that space. But and all of these big companies do it, man. They all do it. I work for a huge company and we do it. I can't say too much about that, but well, for instance, what's another example? Say, for instance, you have a management structure in a company, and that management structure is generally dominated by white men for a multitude of reasons. And there wouldn't just be one reason. It's not just because we are discriminating against women. There would be a multitude of reasons. So you want to sort of even the playing field. So I guess the best way to sort of do that is to train within the company and move people up that you think are, and slowly over time do that. But say you realize this in 2021, and then you go, right, by 2025, 50% women in management. What do you have to do to get there? You have to discriminate, and you have to discriminate against people that probably are better for the job. And they might be straight white men. But that's damaging to your business. And I feel like we've seen a lot of that. Like we have to hit these quotas. There is a way to do quotas, by the way, where it's actually fair. And you would have to do research. And I feel like they don't have a problem doing research because they spend a lot of money on this sort of stuff. So, if you did a bit of research on whatever it is, what demographic you're trying to hire, if you want, you want to get a percentage or a fair percentage that represents the population of whatever demographic it is, let's say women, and you're hiring for, say, I don't know, doctors, right? And then you look at the qualified pool of doctors, and representative in your particular society, say in America, let's say there's 60% men and there's 40% women. Okay, well then you could have a quota to say, okay, well there's definitely a big enough talent pool for us to have 60 and 40. You know what I mean? That would make sense. That would be fair. At that point, you would have the applicants coming in, and it would be feasible to look at two resumes and go, hey, these two are both just as good as each other, but this one's a woman and we're going to hire them. It's still a sort of discrimination, but it's not. I think it sort of blurs those lines, and it's not bad, right? You can do it like that. Like that's a possibility. Okay.
Well, especially in healthcare, like my wife likes to go see women doctors. It's like, yeah, you don't want to sit here like, yeah, discriminating in that regard and say like, oh, okay, we're going to go with the guy every time. Like, yeah, you're going to end up hurting your business,
Yeah, but